Welcome to Beard Time. I'm Jarris, and this is John O'Neill from Sparkplug Games. John just finished his panel on the evolution of the gaming industry, which was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. John works or owns Sparkplug Games, which is a mobile game developer, and you guys develop a lot of technologies for other uses. The things that you discussed were advertising, learning, and then later managerial. When it comes to multiple applications, do you start with like a single application for a client, or do you try to apply something that you've already worked on to that client's needs?
Interesting question. So a lot of what we started with were specifically for clients coming to us with opportunities and asking if we could do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And so we would spend a large amount of time doing just that. And then as time evolved, in the last 2 years especially, we've started realizing we can take a lot of our development that we built for games or for other clients and start applying them more actively. And so it was really through building up a portfolio of content that we were able to do that. And we didn't realize that until after we had it, obviously.
Right. And then you looked at it and you were like, oh, well, I don't know what we're going to work on this month. I guess we could.
And we could do something here. But that's actually an interesting question, because there's times where between a project or even in a downtime while we're waiting for feedback, we'll experiment with a new technique, a new process. You know, a Facebook game is a good example, where we hadn't done a Facebook game in a couple of years, and so we were looking at quickly developing and iterating a product that allowed multiple people to play a type of game that we were never necessarily going to commercially launch, but in that development process, you know, a couple of weeks' time, we built up enough knowledge about what's new in Facebook, and specifically how we could take those components that we built and use them into future products. And so we've just done that even in the last couple of weeks, where we had 2 completely different products that use components that we've been experimenting with in a downtime.
Awkward silence. So when you are, or when you have a product that you can package in multiple ways, does the multiple applications make it easier to swallow making the free-to-play jump? Like, because it seems like it would be a little bit of a scary thing to attempt.
It is. 42. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
But more specifically to a product. So actually we kind of discovered the difficulty in our first couple of free-to-play products. One was very well designed to allow for ongoing continuous play where the difficulty curve ramped gradually, but you could quickly jump and have more content if you purchased it. Another product was designed much more traditionally, where it was specific sets of levels. And so we had the struggle of saying it's free to play, but it's really more of a free demo, and then you buy the additional levels. And so it was kind of a, shove free to play into that one. And it's actually been much more successful pulling it back out of free to play and going, distribution and publishing to non-mobile markets in a non-free to play manner. Case in point, Plight of the Zombie. We just relaunched it on PC and Mac through the Big Fish portal, and it's a paid product.
So, for newer developers who are ready to get their feet wet, do you think that Facebook applications are a good way to try, like, essentially to test your mettle? Or is that more advanced, like misleadingly advanced?
Well, what's interesting, Facebook has been really making it extremely easy for people, developers lately, to support it as not only a social marketing element as a component in the game, but also as a user identification method for Facebook login, using the Graph API and the massive friend network and the opportunity for very simple interfaces to get information about a user, all their friends, a live news feed, and all the other great features it provides. And so if you'd asked me that a year ago, it's not super advanced, but it's not the easiest thing to jump into. Today, it's almost trivial. They've made it so easy to use, very basic, without getting too technical, a basic RESTful API that connects and authenticates user access, and then you can use that information in your application or in your game very, very easily. be it on the web, PC downloadable, mobile, tablet, Commodore 64.
Do you find saturation to be an issue, though?
Well, saturation is an issue with all games right now. There's a tremendous amount of products that's on the market, and I didn't say good product. I just said product, and so there's a lot of noise.
Right.
And so it's a massive problem, not only with games, but with technology and information in general.
Absolutely.
We're constantly flooded, and so it's finding a way to be innovative, to get above the noise, to start a viral campaign. Go traditional marketing, go new marketing. Go blue marketing, I don't know. You find ways to get out there. And if you can tap an existing fan base or tap an existing product base with yourself as a developer or with a partner development studio, that's something else people are starting to do now. Banding together as small indies and saying, I've got 50,000 users and I'd love to promote your game in our game. And then likewise, bring it back.
Absolutely. One of the big things that you were discussing in there is using middleware, essentially conglomerations of smaller products to make your job easier. Do you foresee the future of game developing moving to networks of smaller developers working together to create a single product?
Actually, very much so. In fact, we're actively engaged with other small studios in this area, either in the form of providing advice on how we got through the first couple of years from a business perspective to technological assistance and saying, you're using Unity, for instance. Hey, we've been using Unity for a long time. Let me tell you the best practices to make it easy for you. And that comes back to help us because they may find a real innovative way of doing something that we can reuse. So we're very big, and I'm encouraging a lot of that with other indie studios to share that knowledge, and in some cases sharing code. And that's something that Unity facilitates as well through their asset store. Very low cost, reusable modules that you can buy. Some of them are free, $5, $10, $15. And so it makes it less than an hour's worth of effort just buying a solution.
Right. And has the indie game industry been receptive of that kind of collaboration?
Massive. I was at GDC a month ago, and I think the Unity presentation, they said they had over 1.7 million registered users actively engaged. And you just go online, the gorgeous thing, and it's something that Epic has done with Unreal as well. They built a massive community that ultimately supports itself. And so you go up and you have a question about the way something is done in Unity. More likely than not, a community member is going to answer that question, and they've already posted a blog or wiki or something about it, or go to the learning site that Unity has. Because they provide a tremendous amount of information to help encourage people to experiment and share that information so they're not closed off.
So it sounds like for the most part, the indie game community is very inclusive rather than exclusive.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
It is. I've always looked at the game industry in general. We don't really compete with ourselves. We are all generating interactive content for consumers, and a consumer's not going to look at it and go, I could pay $1 for Angry Birds or $1 for Plight of the Zombie. No, I'm going to buy them both. At least that's what we're hoping. So we're not thinking that these other developers are our competitors. It's very much let me hear about the experience you had building that product because maybe I can learn from it. And likewise, let me tell you about what we learned so that everyone collectively is risen up.
Absolutely. That's wonderful.
It's a good time.
This segment has not been brought to you by Unity.
But we use it for everything.
John, thanks.
Awesome. Great to talk to you.
Yeah.